Hey, everybody. A couple of students came to me recently with some concerns that they had about privacy and security on LinkedIn. They wanted to know whether or not it's possible to block somebody from viewing their profile, or whether or not it's possible to block them from commenting on their posts. There's also been some chatter in the news about some breaches and so on in LinkedIn, which actually I have to say that wasn't reported accurately. It's a whole other story. I won't go there. But anyway, what I've done is I've actually put a video together here for you to show you some of the things that you can do to maybe mitigate some of the harms, the potential harms. But before I go further, I do want to say something, though, is that data breaches, they exist everywhere, right? If you have an email account, then you're not secure. And in fact, an email is probably one of the worst because it's attached to everything, right? Like your bank accounts and so on. And I mean, how often do you hear about bank account breaches, right? And yet I'm sure that there's not too many of you here that are hiding your money under your bed, right? Everything has to be sensibilities weighed against risk, weighed against benefits. So the fact is that you do need to have a profile. You have to have a profile. You have to have your photo out there. And if you don't shape the way that people perceive you in the world, then it will be shaped for you, right? You need to decide how you want to show up in the world, right? And statistically, that is much more important to your success than not, all right? There's just things that you have to apply, those sensibilities that I was talking about. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be sharing my profile as I kind of show you how these things work, because the pseudo one that I made for Veronica just doesn't have enough substance to it. So I am right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen with you. Actually, I need to get rid of something here. We'll get rid of that. There we go. And then there's my LinkedIn profile. So once you have your profile up, you are going to click on your Me icon and head down to where it says Settings and Privacy. And you'll see that what comes up here is a page, your Settings and Privacy page. And along the left-hand side, there's 6 sections there that are meant just basically for helping you view and modify your account settings. So the 2 areas that I'm going to be focusing on is this one here, sign-in security, and also visibility. So the 3 areas here on your account access, on your account access is the places where you're signed in, devices that remember your password, and then 2-step verification. You want to make sure that you know what devices are looking at your LinkedIn account. So if you click on here, you can see which IP addresses are looking at you right now on LinkedIn. You can also look to see which of your devices have been set up that remember your password. So if you give your phone away or you lose your phone or something like that, that you make sure that you take that password ability off of that phone, right, in your LinkedIn. The other thing too is the 2-step verification. I have it turned on. It's just one more barrier to people being able to hack into your LinkedIn account. So make sure that you have that 2-step verification turned on. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about visibility, and I'm going to go through this in a fair bit of detail because a lot of these things are really important to how you are viewed or who can view you and what. So first thing is profile viewing options. Now, when you have it turned up all the way for maximum exposure, this is what people will be able to see when they go to the who viewed my LinkedIn profile section, right? So for me, I like it when people know that that I viewed their profile. So I'm going to make sure that I have that turned on. It just gives me way more exposure, and it may also, you know, instigate a conversation with that person, which is something that I would want. If though you do not want somebody to know that you've been poking around in their LinkedIn profile, you make sure that you put it in private mode. Now, a good reason for this is, let's say you want to block somebody from being able to see your LinkedIn profile. If you have it in the other option up at the top with everything on it, and you go to their LinkedIn profile, which is what you have to do in order to block them, they'll be able to see that you were there. So you want to make yourself anonymous, and then you're going to go to their profile, and I'll show you here how we do that. So you go back to LinkedIn and you hit your search bar at the top, or you find somebody. Let's say, okay, so let's say Daryl. Let's say I want to go in and block him. Now, if Daryl looks at his profile, he's not going to be able to see who it was that was looking at his profile. And then I can go in now and I can click on the More button and then click on the report or the block, and then I can fill it out. Now, there's 3 things you can do. You can block him, or you can report something on there, or you can report something that you don't like in the photo. And when you click the button here, it warns you that you'll no longer be connected and or have endorsements or recommendations or anything like from that person, okay? And you won't be able to see any suggestions to interact with each other either. And if you block them, you can unblock them, but it takes a couple of days for it to actually come back. So I'm not going to do anything here. I'm just going to go back to my use. I don't want to block Daryl, and back to visibility. And the second part, the thing that we're going to look at is story viewing options. Now, again, this is if you've commented on somebody's posts and you have it like full visibility, this is what shows up. All right, at the top of your comment. And if you are trying to make an impression with a lot of people who are basically swimming in the same field as you, because otherwise, why would you be commenting on someone's post? Then you want to make sure you get maximum exposure. I can't think of any, I can't even think of any ethical reason why you would want to hide your comments from anybody. But I mean, perhaps if any of you think something, you let me know, but right now I can't think of anything. So I suggest that you keep that button on no matter what. Alrighty, for editing your public profile, I have talked to you about some of this before. Along the side of your LinkedIn profile, you have all of these buttons and how you show up in the world. I, again, personally have mine open to the public because I am trying to get business from people and so on, and I want to be found. And I think that if you are really in job hunting mode, that's not a bad thing to do either, is to keep it public. But you can change who sees your profile, and you can see who can interact, or you can change who can interact with you by clicking on any of these buttons. You can also have it switched so that only your first degree connections can see your photo, right? Or just your network, or all LinkedIn members, or the public, which I have. And all of these buttons here also allow people to see everything that you've got checked off on here, okay? And you can turn those on or off. Again, if you're looking to be found, then you know what? You are going to want to have those buttons on. Not so much, you may want to consider which ones you want to turn off. All right. Okay. Ability. Who can see or download your email address? This really doesn't have too much to do with security. It's just if you're in sales and if you want to show up on somebody else's CRM, that sort of thing, you may want to turn that on. I just turn it off because it's not applicable to me. All right. And in job hunting mode, I don't think it would be either. Your connections. This is, some people don't want people to see who their connections are, so you can turn that off. Again, for me, it's just another way to meet and find and learn about more people, so I tend to keep it on. Another way to minimize the visibility that people see of you is to just use the first initial of your last name. So if I didn't really want people to, you know, see the whole thing, see who I am, I could just change it to the W. And at least that way you still have an active profile, but it's just going to be privy to the people that you give your LinkedIn URL to, because chances are they're not going to be able to find you any other way. And also, I would suspect that if you're in that situation, that you would have had your photo turned off. Okay. That I leave mine on. You can see the whole of me. Alrighty. So representing your organization and interest, again, a great thing about this is that if the company that you work for has a LinkedIn company page, you can benefit each other by having that mutual exposure. What you put on and on your profile, goes to the company, and what the company posts goes on to you. So it's just a great way to just build up exposure for both of you. And if you were an employer, you definitely would be encouraging your employees to have that set to yes. Okay. Your profile off of LinkedIn. This is if you want to appear in other search engines. So Google, if someone wants to Google you, chances are you're going to want your LinkedIn profile to come right up to the top, unless you don't want it to, and then you would turn that off. If you, the next section here, profile discovery using email address. If you have, if someone can't find you on LinkedIn, but they have your email address, they can put their email address in there, and that'll bring up your LinkedIn profile. If you don't want them to be able to do that, then you have the choice here, 3 choices: nobody, second degree connections, and everyone. The same thing is with your phone number. Again, people can find you by your phone number, and if you don't want people to be able to do that, then you want to make sure that you have it turned off. Okay. This, for blocking, what this will do is give you a list of the people who you've blocked on LinkedIn. All right. And I don't have anybody, so nothing's showing up in there. The other section, the visibility of your LinkedIn activity, is something that people are curious about sometimes. What that means here is when you have the manage active status, you can change who can actually see when you're online. So when you are working on LinkedIn and you have it set to all LinkedIn members, anybody that's a LinkedIn member will see this little green circle with the white dot on it. It shows up right underneath your head, or your profile picture on your LinkedIn profile page. All right. If you don't want anybody to know, or you don't want to be disturbed, then you could just put that on to no one. Sharing profile updates with your network. Again, for me, it's just another way to kind of show up in somebody's feed, to kind of stay in touch with my network. So I leave that on. Again, that's up to you whether or not you want to do that or not. Another area that I always leave on is that if I'm in the news, if something comes up that's really spectacular, I want to make sure that my connections and followers see it. I suspect if you were just robbed a bank and that's the reason that you're in the news, you may not want to have that set to yes. So you might want to think about turning it off in those kind of instances, right? Or there's some other reasons I can think of, but I'm not going to mention them here. Alrighty, so mentions or tags. Again, this allows other people to mention you in content that you've posted on LinkedIn. Again, this is another really awesome way to get noticed on other people's feeds from your connections. Like I said, chances are you're all swimming in the same pool, and the more people who can see your expertise in that area, the better it is for you. So I always allow mentions and tags on my LinkedIn posts, on the comments that I put on other people's posts. And then last, followers. I have it set to yes, so that I'm trying to grow my network. And so I have it on yes, so that everybody, anybody who wants to, can find me on LinkedIn, and instead of just my connections. Okay. Yeah. growing my network and my thought leadership. So I want to have that posted. Some of the other concerns that I had was, can I block somebody from commenting on a post that I put on? And yes, you can, and I'll show you how you do that. Head back to LinkedIn. And actually, I'm going to just head to my home. When it comes up here to my home button. And when you click on share a post and see where it says anyone here. Right, so I can allow anyone to comment on my post. I can allow my connections only, or I can have nobody comment on my post. So you can do it. This is the one way to do it. But another way you can is if you've actually posted something and then decide down the road, oh, I don't want everybody to be able to comment on it. You can actually go to your posts and your post activity here. Let me go to my posts. These are my posts. And so let's say I don't want everybody to be able to see this post that I have on here. You can click on the 3 dots and there you go. Who can comment on the post? I can change this after the fact. All right. I've had another question asked as well, is that if you do block somebody, I should have mentioned this before, I guess, if you do block somebody, can they tell? And the answer is no. All it will look like is that you just don't exist on LinkedIn to them. They don't get any kind of a notification or anything like that. Another situation that came up, actually not with this cohort, but it was another COM 300 cohort. I had a young woman who wanted to have a recommendation that somebody had given her removed from her post because she didn't really want to be associated with that person anymore. And so I'll show you how you can do that, because you can. So you'd go back to your profile, scroll down to your recommendations, and whoops, not too far, recommendations. Click on the little pen and click on received, and let's say I don't want Melanie's recommendation to show up on my feed anymore. So I just click the button here and now her recommendation would be hidden from my feed. All right, but I love Melanie, so I'm going to keep that on. And same thing, if you've given a recommendation to somebody and you no longer want your name to be associated on their profile, is that you click the button, click the given, and there you go. You have the ability here to delete or revise it. All right. Okay, so that's pretty much all that I want to mention about the security and privacy right now. If you are concerned about having a public LinkedIn profile and about completing that section of your assignment, please just send me an email and we will figure out another way to get you through this part of the course, okay? And yeah, don't hesitate to do that, all right? We will figure something out for you. And otherwise, have a great week, everybody. And we'll meet you in the Collaborate room on Wednesday, or we'll talk to you soon. Okay, thanks. Bye now.